Good morning. We're on Wednesday here, middle of the week. Hopefully you got to watch Chapel or will watch Chapel. We're going to learn a little bit more about the New England states. We learned about the states themselves, and kind of the history, and then the capital cities yesterday, and more about the population. We're going to learn a little bit more about why they group these New England states together in a group. Yes, they are right next to each other, but they also all have a lot in common. For the most part. But the one thing, don't forget, is we're talking about these 6 states way in the Northeast. Again, if you start right in the middle of our country and go north and east or northeast, that's right where we are, right? So we're talking, what's special about New England? What would a visitor notice about this place? And one of the first things they might think of is Boston. We talked about this before. This is where the Boston Celtics play. This is where the New England Patriots play. Even though they're not the Boston Patriots, but they actually used to be called the Boston Patriots. Now they're called the New England Patriots. This is, if you like the Red Sox, where the Boston Red Sox play. Again, this is the biggest city in all of New England, in all 6 states, but it's in Massachusetts, and it is the capital city of Massachusetts. But remember, not always the biggest city in each state is a capital city. It doesn't mean that. But this is indeed where the Massachusetts state laws get made in their capital city. But man, there's a lot of different finance. And when we talk about the economy, it's not all about money, but when a lot of people are buying and selling things in Boston, a lot of different companies are making things. A lot of different banking is done here. That's why there's so many people that live in this area, because there's a lot of jobs and there's a lot of ways to make money, and there's a lot of people that come and visit to spend money there. A lot of different people actually settle in Boston from all over the world. A lot of people from, almost all the different continents, but especially Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America. They all come to Boston. I shouldn't say all. What I mean is many come to Boston. Those port cities are where a lot of immigrants come. We got LA and Seattle and Miami and New York, and Boston is one of those port cities right in the Atlantic Ocean. That's one of the first places that they come to, and a lot of people stay. And I'm talking nowadays, 2020, when this happens. Here's a lot of what New England looks like. Not all of it, but I think I mentioned this the other day. Vermont is called the Green Mountain State, and a lot of those, you can kind of pick out the evergreens and the pine trees, but a lot of the other trees that lose their leaves, or the big fancy pants science term is called deciduous trees, they turn these beautiful colors. And believe it or not, right now in the New England states is when they get a lot of visitors just to come see this beautiful countryside with all these mountains turning all these different colors with the trees. Just like a lot of people come to Arizona to see the cacti and to see the Grand Canyon, a lot of people go to New England at this time just to see the beautiful mountains. Literally, 3, 4, 5 different colors like you see here. But rural areas means not many people. You see this picture here? This is a small little town and village. Not a big giant city like Phoenix, like we're used to, where you're driving literally for an hour and it's constant city. Not so much here. Not so much here. There's a lot of countryside. There's a lot of rural areas, which means small pockets of people, not big giant cities. Rugged land, cold winters. They get some big storms here. The winter storms is what I talk about. A lot of snow, a lot of coldness, and things like that. Most of the people don't live in the mountains. They live like in the valley, just like you're used to when you go from from Globe to Superior. You're in a bunch of mountains. Not a lot of people live up there, right? But when you get down to Phoenix, into the valley, you can see that you're getting down into the flat part of it. There's the whole city laid out in front of you. Well, same for New England. Not enough people live on the mountains, but they live in the valleys and the lowlands. Here's the next thing I want to show you, if it'll pop up. Oh, there's a picture of the big storms I had. Come on, get back there. Look at this. This is a picture What's called a nor'easter is what they call it there. Really, just a big giant winter storm, and they get a lot of them. And they're used to snow. Obviously, this driver wasn't quite used to it, but they just got to deal with it in winter driving because there's a lot of snow and a lot of these nor'easter storms that come. Even though there are a lot of rural areas with not a lot of people, most people are not farmers. Many work in industries like factories, and some work in tourism where they have like an inn or a lodge that people can come to, and other people work in manufacturing, which is a big fancy pants for making goods from other materials. And a lot of people are commuters. Now, what that means is they actually work in the big cities like Boston. But their home is, 30, 45 miles away from Boston because they like to live in the nice, peaceful countryside, not in the middle of the city where there's horns and then there's people all over it, right? They'll go to work there, but they'll drive 40, 45 minutes away just to not live there, right? They have their house in the countryside, but their trip to work and back is called commuting, so we call those people commuters. If you want to take a vacation in New England, hey, Boston has a lot of neat things, and you can see some of the old colonial villages. A lot of people like to go skiing in this area. They don't have mountains that are big and have big triangle like we have. They have more hilly mountains, still really tall, but they're more hills, which is really good for skiing. It's called the Appalachian Mountains there. Not as rocky as ours. But they also have the beaches because a lot of them are right on the ocean. Some of these you may have heard of. I never heard the dog sled derby, but Vermont is really famous for maple syrup. A lot of times you put that in your pancakes and waffles. A lot of it comes from Vermont because that's what they're famous for. They have a lot of maple trees there. And lobster in Maine, right? There are a lot of right on the ocean. So there's a lot of people that literally go fishing for lobster, and some of the best lobster you ever had and seafood is from Maine and New England states. Hey guys, here's what the assignment is. You have 2 pages here. The first page is really a bunch of directions, and the second page, if I get to it, is indeed a map of the New England states. Now I'm going to be honest with you. This is quite similar to what you're going to see on Friday. I know it's not Friday, but you need to really make sure you're following directions here. Follow directions of this page and do it on the map. For instance, I know it's a lot of writing here, but my point is, number 1, get ready for Friday's test. Number 2, seeing how well you can follow directions. So Maine is the state that is farthest east. Please write down Maine inside the state. There's your first direction. Write Maine inside the state. This is the furthest east, right? Now, it says, then our first, find the star in the middle of Maine. That star is the capital city of Maine. Maine's capital city is Augusta. Please write down Augusta by the star. Boom, there's a star. Write down Augusta. If you don't know how to spell it, look back to the pages. So, then color the state of Maine red. So all this, I know there's a lot of squiggly lines. Please try to stay in the lines. Color that red. Then you move on. Then you move on to the next page, or the next number. New Hampshire is a state that is touching Maine, to the west of Maine. Please write down New Hampshire inside the state. So there it is. There's New Hampshire. Please write down New Hampshire. I know it's a long name, small state. Do your best. At any rate, you got to do this for all 6 states. It's a lot of writing. Basically, you're writing the state name, the capital, and you're coloring the color I ask you to color. Just again in preparation for Friday, so you know the difference between the states and the capital cities in each state, which you will be testing on Friday. When you're coloring, please don't color over what you wrote. Unless it's a light color that you can see through it well, but don't color it over so I can't even read it. But anyways, guys, this is your assignment. We'll find out a little bit more about the New England states tomorrow, and I do want to wish you guys, Lord bless these days and praise your Savior.